Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7. What Prahlad learned in the womb, text number 15. Rishi Karunikas Tasya. Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha. Dharmasya Tattvam Janam Cha. Mam Udisha Nirmalam. Rishi Karunikas Tasya. Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha. Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha. Mam Udisha Nirmalam.
Rishi Karunikas Tasya. Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha. Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha. Mama Udisha Nirmalam. Rishi Karunikas Tasya.
Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha. Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha. Mam Abhyudisha Nirmalam.
Rishi Karunikas Tasya.
Rishi Karunikas Tasya.
Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha.
Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha.
Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha.
Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha.
Mamapi Udishya Nirmalam.
Dami. Karunikas Tasya. Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha. Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha. Mama Yodisha Nirmalam. Rishi, the great sage Narada Muni said. The great sage Narada Muni. Karunika, naturally very affectionate or merciful to the fallen souls. Tasya, to her. Pradad, gave instructions. Ubayam, both. Ishvaraha, a powerful controller who can do whatever he likes. Narada Muni. Dharmasya, of religion. Tattvam, the truth. Jnanam, knowledge. Cha, and. Mam, me. Api, especially. Udisha, indicating. Nirmalam, without material contamination. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Narada Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions of religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. Purport. Here it is said, Dharmasya Tattvam Jnanam Cha Nirmalam. The word Nirmalam refers to spotless Dharma, spotless religion, or in other words, Bhagavad Dharma. Ordinary religious activities constitute contaminated religion by which one benefits by developing material wealth and prosperity. But uncontaminated, pure religion consists of understanding one's relationship with God and acting accordingly. Thus fulfilling the highest mission of life and returning home back to Godhead. Prahlad Maharaj advised that one elevate oneself to the standard of Bhagavad Dharma from the very beginning of life. Kamara acharat pragyo dharmam bhagavataniha. The Lord himself also speaks of pure uncontaminated religion when he says, Sarva dharma prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. But in all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 1866. One must understand one's relationship with God and then act accordingly. This is Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma means Bhakti Yoga. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jana Nyatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Tada Haitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. The Bhagavatam 127. To be situated on the platform of pure religion, one should perform Bhakti Yoga in relationship with Krishna, Vasudeva. Rishi Kurunikas Tasya Pradad Ubayam Ishvaraha Dharmasya Tattvam Janam Cha Mam Apya Udisha Nirmalam. Narada Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. Mam Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Mun Say Shunyavadi Paskyatyade Siddharna. In the Bhagavatam it is said, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam Ashi. Dharmak Prayodita Kaitavotra Nimatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastamam Astu Jivanam Tapo Jivanam. That the Bhagavatam Dharmak Prayojita Kaitavotra Paramo Nimatsaranam Satam. That the Bhagavatam eliminates or kicks out all pretentious religion. In other words, religion is actually meant to help us become Krishna conscious. But generally religion is an offering or is meant to induce people to do something or to control their mind and senses to some degree. And they do so being promised some reward in the future, some material reward. But this type of inducement doesn't actually satisfy the soul. But it brings one on the path towards satisfaction of the soul. For instance, Vyasadeva, who compiled the Vedic literature, after compiling it, and not only the four Vedas, but the Upanishads, the Puranas, so many different knowledge, he was despondent. Although he was situated in the platform of Brahman, self-realization, Brahmabhuta, which is supposed to be Prasanatma, still he was not very happy. And so Narada Muni came and explained to him that because you haven't adequately glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although you're fixed in your vows and you understand philosophy, you're an incarnation of God, still without meditating upon the personality of Godhead, you can't actually be satisfied. Similarly, in the material world, most people don't even know about God, nor are they following any religious principles. And people are surprised why they're not happy. So they go to a psychiatrist to find out why they're not happy. The psychiatrist gives them some pills so they don't feel anything. They don't feel unhappy, they don't feel happy, they don't feel anything. Their minds are so, they become like a tree. You go up to a tree and say, how are you feeling? I don't feel. I don't feel anything. It's raining, it's snowing, whatever. I hardly feel anything. Try not to stick the knife in me, though. So people don't feel, they feel miserable in the material world, and then therefore they take drugs, try to dull their pain. But even those who follow religious principles to some degree, they're also dissatisfied. So generally, 4 kinds of pious people approach Krishna, and on the beginning stages, one approaches Krishna simply out of distress, and therefore they're willing to follow religious principles. It's not that religion is some ritual. You go to church, and they sing some hymns, and you go home and you eat your steak with your family, or wash it down with the wine. And then watch television, because you did your religious duty for the day. And actually, religious principles begin with austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Words that probably are not very much in the dictionary anymore. People are not very familiar even with the meaning of what it means to be truthful. Because generally speaking, if you go on book distribution and ask people for a donation, the first words from their mouths are lies. I'm sorry, don't have anything. Well, just give anything. Oh, let me check my wallet. Well, why don't you give that 100? No, it's not mine, it's my neighbor's. Well, what about the 10? Well, that's my grandchild's. What about the 5? Well, I don't know, I promised that to someone else. What about the 50 cents? Okay, I can give you that. No worries. Can you give me change, though? So truthfulness, cleanliness. People, they look at their hands before they eat, and they look clean, they eat. And afterwards, they wouldn't think about washing their hands because they might get hungry later on. And mercy, people are not merciful. They don't know what it means. They don't believe that there's such a thing as animals have a soul. They think animals are here for our exploitation. As a matter of fact, they think everyone is there for our exploitation. They've come up with the philosophy, not only animals don't have any soul, but even children don't have a soul. Especially children in the womb. And old people don't have a soul. When they get a certain age and they're unproductive, the soul leaves. And austerity, if people only eat 3 meals a day, they think they're starving. They can't conceive of only eating 1 meal a day. That's for some Aborigine tribe in Africa. So that's the beginning of religion, religious principles, cleanliness, austerity, mercy, truthfulness. But people are not interested in following, nor do they actually believe. Even people believe in things like some people are vegans. They believe you shouldn't eat any animal product, so they're automatically vegetarians. But they don't mind killing children in the womb. And others who are completely against abortion, they're completely into killing animals. They think it's completely religious to kill animals. And practically, no one is against intoxication, practically, in reality. But if one can become a little religious and follow those religious principles, then the result is they become a little pious. They give in charity, they do some sacrifice for God. Dana, Dhammas, Vijagnas. They control their senses a little bit. And they consider that they're very elevated moral people. They're above everyone else. Everyone else is going to hell, and they're going to heaven forever. And there may be a few people who are philosophers trying to understand what the nature of reality is. They may do some studying. They may do some austerity to try to get some realization. They may fast on certain days and try to meditate. But generally their conclusion is impersonal. Therefore, real religion kicks out all these pretentious religions that are doing everything just to benefit oneself and in the name of religion. Get free from anxiety, find comfort, satisfy one's inquisitiveness, and ultimately feel oneself to be above everyone else, have the biggest ego. The real religion begins with surrender to the words of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in order to actually become Krishna's instrument, a servant of Krishna, dasa dasa anudasa. So this is what Narada Muni was instructing to Prahlad in the womb. Of course, his mother was also there, and as we'll later find out, his mother wasn't so interested in these things. First of all, her association probably was not the highest spiritual association at that time, since her husband was the biggest demon in the universe. Plus, I'm sure all her friends were demons too. And she had Prahlad in her womb, and her husband was out of town. Therefore, she had other things on her mind. And even if she had heard the instructions of Narada Muni, which she did, still, how was she going to apply them? When her husband came back, have kirtan with him? Come on, come on, let's go. Hare Krishna. What? Get out of my house, you. So she didn't really have such an impetus. For Prahlad within the womb, he was fully inspired. First of all, he had nothing else to do. Imagine if being in the womb and you're awake. It must be pretty boring. There's nothing to do. No one to talk to. And if you talk to someone, they're not going to listen to you anyhow. They can't even hear you. There's nothing to eat. It's all being done automatically. You can't even breathe. It's pretty boring. So Prahlad took full advantage of the instructions of Narada Muni, and he was determined. It says in the Bhagavatam, in the 3rd canto, that sometimes the soul wakes up and he remembers his last 100 births. And he realizes how horrible everything is, all the problems he went through. And he makes a vow that in this lifetime, I'm actually going to take Krishna consciousness seriously and go back to the spiritual world. Once in a while, we all think like that. Yeah, I'm going to get serious. And then we'll get distracted. But Prahlad, he had 9 months in the womb. He was fully conscious of who he was and what was going on. He understood that this is an opportunity, even from the beginning of my life, to make this life perfect. And therefore he said, Dharma, who's that? From the Kamar Acharat Pragyo, Dharman Bhagavataniha, Durlava Manusha Janma, Tarapyajruvam Artadam. So Prahlad realized what to speak at the beginning of life. If you can get the instructions in the womb, that's even better. Then you're prepared even before you're born to take Krishna consciousness seriously. Otherwise, we're not born in devotee parents, and we're not born in pure devotee parents, there's always a danger we'll get from the very beginning. We'll become misled. You're born and everyone's going, ooh, goo, 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 and you're going, goo, 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 ah. It's called nonsense. All you hear is nonsense from the beginning of your life. First of all, you come into the world and they smack you, that's... You've lost your consciousness. Even if you had any Krishna consciousness, it's all lost with the first smack. And everyone's going, goo, 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 and they're making funny faces at you. This is your instruction from the beginning of life. And then if you're unfortunate enough not to be born in a devotee family, then you got to go through first kindergarten again. Oh, painting with your fingers. I mean, what kind of consciousness are you developing? Same thing as a monkey. You know, a monkey just takes you can give a monkey some paint and then throw it upon a canvas. It just throws different colors on the canvas and you sell it for $1,000. Modern art. Picasso painted it. So, but that's what you learn from the beginning of life. Then 1 + 1 is 2, or you think 1 + 1 is 3, and it takes 6 months to learn it's 2. And so by the time you're eligible to understand anything of any significance, your brain has been washed away. It's called brainwashing. That's his problem, is that if you had any brain to begin with. So, Prahlad was extremely fortunate to hear the instructions of Narada Muni, and therefore from the very beginning, he was not deviated by so-called education. But still, from any point of life, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, even though we weren't fortunate enough to have Narada Muni instruct us, we weren't perhaps born in devotee families, and we had modern education, which bewildered us from the path of self-realization and completely absorbed us in material consciousness. Still, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of the acharyas and disciple succession, we have a chance to develop love of Krishna, simply by chanting Hare Krishna. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, although we may not have pure devotion, still, and we may have so many other desires, so many other things we're attracted to, other than pure devotion, still, Krishna consciousness is so auspicious that even a late starter, Prabhupada writes here, lust is only the perverted reflection of love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. So Gurukul is so important. Although somehow or another we've taken it as something like, we can't have Gurukul. It's like, that was for Prahlad's time, Satya Yuga. Now we have modern education. And if our children, later on, if they have to go through education, they want to become devotees, then they can do by their free will. Of course, the demons never say that, let my child go to Gurukul for 15 years, and later on, if he wants to become a demon, he can. It only seems to work one way. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regular principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life, or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service to the Lord, and turn lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. So that's the goal of life. Become conscious of Krishna and to be developing love for Him. So we become conscious of Him, and then if we learn to hear in the right attitude and serve with the right attitude, then Krishna will give us intelligence and purify our heart, so gradually that dormant love for Krishna will be invoked. We just try to have a favorable attitude and do what we're supposed to do. And when Krishna sees our sincerity, then gradually He'll purify our heart and give us the intelligence so we can actually come to the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. So again, it is very difficult to turn lust into love, But if one tries at any stage and follows the regular principles of devotional service and tries to make progress, then that love can be purified and the dormant state of lust can be purified and the dormant state of love can be invoked again within our heart. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes.
I have a comment. You said very nice and well after this. Thank you for your lecture.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radhastami ki jai, Gaur Premanande. By the way, the Panchatattva look very beautiful today. They look like transcendental butterflies.